There are some major upgrades and changes that we know are in the pipeline for the Model Y, and some that we think might be on the way as well. It's going to be another crazy year for Tesla in 2022, and as fans and potential buyers of these vehicles, we have a lot to look forward to. So let's talk about all the improvements and changes that we can expect from the new Model Y in 2022. Let's get into all the details. So let's get started. Before talking any further, we have to acknowledge that Tesla doesn't do model years like every other car maker. This is because they don't make updates on a schedule, and they don't just make all of the changes for a given year all at once. Some of these new features might roll out in a month, or 6 months, or even 12 months from now. Whenever a new feature is ready to go, it gets worked into production. The upside to this is that when you get a new Tesla, you are getting the best possible car that they can build at that moment. But the downside is that you never know when those step changes are coming. With the recent launch of Tesla's Gigafactory Berlin, we got our first good look into the next generation Tesla Model Y that will be coming onto the market in 2022. The body shape remains the same, of course. We know that Tesla don't waste time and money changing the exterior design of their cars, but we do know that there are significant upgrades coming on both the outside and the inside of the SUV. This latest information is coming from Gigafactory Berlin, but we can't see any reason why the same would not apply for Tesla production at the Gigafactory Texas. Both factories started construction at more or less the same time and should start producing vehicles later this year at basically the same time. It wouldn't make any sense for Austin to be less advanced or lack features that Berlin has. We think this is mostly a case of Elon Musk wanting to stay in good favor with the German government and making them feel very special for having all of this amazing new manufacturing tech debut in Germany. The biggest change that we've been able to see is the new battery cell and structural pack architecture, combined with the solid front and rear die-casted frame sections. This is what the bones of the 2022 Model Y are going to look like. It's so simple that it almost looks like a toy, and most of it is made with the same process that they use to make Hot Wheels. But this is actually the most advanced vehicle frame design that we know of, which looks pretty wild. They form the front and rear sections by pressing a molten aluminum alloy into a mold using a 6,000-ton Giga press. When the aluminum hardens, it pops out as one solid chunk of vehicle frame. Talking about other car makers, they will use a series of small stamping and casting machines to form individual parts and then have an army of robots and people to weld, bolt, and glue all of the pieces together. Tesla also revealed some details about the new battery pack that makes up the center structure of the vehicle and the new battery cells that are inside. Though you'll notice that Tesla is still holding something back with this demonstration because we get to see two battery packs, one cross-section and one closed. The pack that is integrated with the front and rear castings is closed, while the pack that is cut open is actually sitting in the old version of the Model Y frame, with the multiple stamped parts all connected together. So the cross-section pack could actually be an older design or something like that. Obviously, Tesla still doesn't want us to be able to see everything at once, but what we can see is that the new pack is filled with the larger diameter cylindrical cells. These are 46 mm in diameter and 80 mm in length, and they use a nickel and manganese-based lithium-ion chemistry inside a steel can. When the tightly packed group of cylinders is sandwiched between two sheets of stamped metal, it creates a structure that is pretty similar to honeycomb. Obviously the cells are round, not hexagons, but basically the same effect. Honeycomb is known to have an exceptional strength-to-weight ratio that allows the battery pack to be more than rigid enough to function as the middle frame of the car. The top of the battery pack is actually going to double as the floor of the cabin, and the seats will be hard-mounted to the pack. For comparison, Tesla also laid out a cross-section of the existing Model Y battery pack. This one uses their 2170 cylindrical cell, so just 12 mm in diameter, and the cells are loaded into these plastic modules, which are bolted to the vehicle frame to form the pack. That all sounds great, but what does it actually mean to the customer? Well, an electric vehicle frame built in this way is going to be inherently stronger than a traditional frame, while also being lighter weight at the same time. This reduces the number of contact points where the different pieces of metal connect and eliminates voids and hollow spaces between those parts, which means an end to rattling and clanging noises from inside the car body. It's also going to mean that the margin for error in the alignment of the frame is going to be pretty much zero, as the body is going to be straight and on center. Another obvious advantage to a stronger vehicle frame is going to be crash safety. There's a certain peace of mind that is going to come from knowing that you have a solid chunk of aluminum in between you and whatever you're about to hit. There is still a crumple zone in front of the casting. It's not going to be like a brick hitting something, but anything that hits hard enough to make it through the crumple zone is going to have a hard time reaching the cabin. There's even an advantage in the side impact scenarios because the design of the structural battery pack moves the cells closer into the center of the body and away from the impact zone. You can see from the two cross sections that the plastic modules on the current pack come right to the edge of the frame. But the bigger cells on the new pack have at least 6 inches or more clearance from the edge. Some people worry that the castings can't be replaced if they're damaged in a crash. But honestly, if anything hits you hard enough to bend those solid chunks of aluminum or break the battery pack, then the whole car is going to be toast regardless. Now, as the new frame design is both lighter and more efficient, it will equal out to a longer range per charge than the existing design if given an equal battery pack. But the new 4680 cylindrical cell design is also much more efficient than the current battery cell, with 6 times more power, 5 times more energy capacity, and a 16% increase in range. So, Tesla can go two ways here. They could maintain the current pack size and allow the performance of the Model Y long range to increase by something around 20%. This would allow up to 390 miles of EPA-rated range. The second thing they could do is maintain the current spec of 326 miles of range, which is great already, and use fewer battery resources in the pack. Either way, the price of the battery pack will be able to come down. Tesla forecast that the 4680 cell will be 14 times cheaper per kilowatt hour, so they could probably shave a bit off the total price. However, if they were to use less battery cell material and cheaper cells, then now we're looking at a big savings on the pack level, and that should translate to a noticeable savings on the total vehicle price. So, we'll just have to wait and see what direction they go. We know that with their new refreshed Model S Plaid, Tesla chose option number 2. They reduced a pack capacity from 104 to 100 kilowatt hours and used increases in design efficiency to achieve pretty much the same range as the older performance model, even though they added a third motor and made the car outrageously powerful. The production of 4680 battery cells is still in the test phase right now at a Tesla facility in California, but volume production is coming in 2022. Tesla is currently building a new battery cell production facility on the grounds of Giga Berlin for the express purpose of making these 4680 batteries. That new Berlin factory should be finished in the spring of 2022. Thanks to the company's advancements in the manufacturing process, these should ramp up pretty quickly to be the fastest moving battery production lines we've ever seen. On the outside, the 2022 Model Y gets 2 significant upgrades. Number 1 is new paint. Tesla is beginning to show off the results from their brand new, state-of-the-art paint shop at Giga Berlin. Paint has been a long-standing issue for Tesla. The quality of their paint finishing has never been very good, and even though they narrowed down the color choices to just 5 generic options, they still have some issues with quality control. Tesla used to have some cool color options earlier, like green and brown, different shades of silver and gray, 2 kinds of white, and 2 kinds of black. The new paint shop should get us back to those days when you could have a really cool unique looking Tesla straight from the factory with no need to opt for a wrap. The new paint process allows them to build up multiple layers of paint that will create an illusion of depth in the color and will visibly change as the light falls on the curve of the body. It also allows for a much more precise application of the color. Tesla showed off what they were capable of with a couple of custom designs that had these really hard-edged geometric shapes on one and a really beautiful piece of art on the other. We know that multiple new paint colors are coming for 2022. We've seen the crimson red before on Elon Musk's personal Model S, and we saw it again during the factory tour. Then we also saw this crazy blue color, probably not accurate to real life, but the photo shows a super bright and saturated blue car. The second upgrade on the Model Y exterior for 2022 is the new headlight design. We saved the most exciting for last obviously, but for real, these are pretty neat as far as headlights go. They use high-precision LED lights on a gimbal mechanism that can project the light not only in any direction the car needs, but also in any shape. In the demonstration at the factory, the headlights were projecting the word Tesla onto a wall, which is pretty crazy for car headlights to do. Elon Musk said that this design is going to allow the car to keep the light out of other people's eyes, whether they are other drivers, pedestrians, or cyclists. We have to imagine this is also going to be a big improvement for autopilot and full self-driving at night, as the car can only drive as good as the digital cameras can see. So now, the FSD computer can manipulate the headlights to shine brighter on anything that it needs to get a better look at. Now, let's get into a rumor. This is the first new feature that we don't know for sure is actually coming in 2022, but we can say there is still a good chance of seeing it, and that is the adaptive air suspension for the Model Y. Earlier we talked about how these new methods for producing the body and new battery technologies were going to make the cars much cheaper to build, and that could translate to a lower cost to the consumer. The Model Y isn't cheap, but it's also not terribly expensive either. In September, the average selling price of a new car in America was $45,000. The Model Y is $55,000, so it's not out of line with the rest of the vehicle market, and it's a really compelling car at the current price. So maybe instead of dropping the sticker price, Tesla rolled that cost savings into a new feature. The Model Y is amazingly fast for a crossover SUV, and it handles amazingly for a vehicle of that size. People love the performance of the car, but most owners don't love the rough ride that comes along with it. With a traditional coil suspension system, you can either have tight responsive handling, or you can have a smooth comfortable ride, a stiff spring or a loose spring. You can't have both at the same time unless the car has an adaptive suspension built in. Most high-end vehicles have this kind of a system. You can put the car in sport or track mode for a tighter suspension feel and leave it in standard or comfort mode for city streets. The Tesla Model S and Model X do this with an adaptive air suspension system that has airbags or bellows on each strut that control the cushioning effect. Tesla's adaptive air suspension was introduced in 2019, and it's an intelligent system that will actively control the ride height of the vehicle and the stiffness of the shock absorbers to suit the current speed, location, and road conditions. So the car will actually lower itself down when you're driving at highway speeds to reduce drag, and it will lift itself up to provide more ground clearance on rough and uneven roads. We know from the design blueprints of the Model Y that it was built with the possibility of adaptive air suspension in mind, and the system can fit into the body without modifications. Green the Only, a Tesla owner and hacker, likes to dig around in his Tesla source code and look for hidden Easter eggs. He's found a couple of software references to adaptive air suspension in the Model Y firmware that suggests it's been considered as a feature. The latest addition to the list are the two new features. The feature include a new AMD Ryzen chip and new double-pane rear windshield. Tesla recently started deliveries of its new Model Y Performance in China, and it included both these new features. After some days it was revealed that all vehicles from Giga Shanghai now come with AMD Ryzen processor. The AMD Ryzen processor was previously limited to the refresh Model S and Model X, but it has now made its way to all the new Teslas coming out from Giga Shanghai. The blazingly fast chip gives the Model Y up to 10 teraflops of processing power, enough to rival the latest home gaming consoles, like the PlayStation 5. The side-by-side comparison shows just how much quicker the infotainment unit is in the new Model Y compared to the previous generation Intel Atom processor. Now, talking about the new double pane or acoustic glass in the rear windows, the new windows reduce road and wind noise, resulting in a quieter cabin. It was just over a year ago when Tesla introduced the double-pane windows on both the Model 3 and Model Y, but they were limited to the front windows only. Both these features are going to make its way into the new Model Ys coming out from Giga Texas and Giga Berlin. It really looks like, with all of this new development in body engineering and battery cell technology, that the next generation of the Tesla Model Y in 2022 is set to become a much more premium product. It will probably be one of the most advanced electric cars on the planet, with the new casting design and structural battery, along with amazing acceleration capability. Along with all these, it would be a bit of a miss if Tesla didn't back that up with world-class handling and ride quality to match. That's it for now. So what are your thoughts about this? Let us know in the comments. Stay tuned at the Electric Arena for all the latest Tesla and electric vehicle news.